The spotlight hit 6-year-old Michael Jackson's face, and his mind went completely blank. 200 people stared at him from the darkness. His brothers were behind him, waiting for him to start singing. The music was playing. But Michael couldn't remember a single word. His hands started shaking. His throat closed up. His legs felt like they might give out underneath him. This was supposed to be the Jackson 5's breakthrough moment, the biggest audience they'd ever performed for, the talent show that could change everything. And Michael was about to ruin it. From the side of the stage, Katherine Jackson saw her baby freezing. She saw the panic in his eyes. She saw him starting to cry. What she did in the next 10 seconds would determine whether Michael Jackson ever performed again, or whether the world would lose the greatest entertainer it would ever know. May 22, 1965. Roosevelt High School, Gary, Indiana. The annual Spring Talent Showcase was the biggest event in Gary's music scene. Every year, local promoters and talent scouts showed up, looking for the next big thing. Winners got a cash prize and, more importantly, the chance to perform at paying gigs around the city. For the Jackson family, this was everything. Joe Jackson had been pushing his sons relentlessly for 6 months, preparing for this night. The Jackson 5, Jackie at 14, Tito at 11, Jermaine at 10, Marlon at 8, and Michael at just 6 years old, had been practicing in their garage until the neighbors threatened to call the police. Joe's plan was simple: blow everyone away, win the competition, and use it as a launching pad to bigger opportunities. He'd already been talking to people, making connections. This performance could open doors. But the plan had one weak link: Michael. 6-year-old Michael was the most talented of all the brothers. Everyone who heard him sing agreed on that. His voice had a quality that was almost supernatural for a child his age. Pure, powerful, emotional in ways that didn't make sense coming from someone who still slept with a teddy bear. But Michael had a problem. He was terrified of performing. It started small. Before their backyard shows, Michael would get quiet. His stomach would hurt. He'd ask Katherine if he could sit this one out. "You're just nervous, baby," Katherine would say. "That's normal." But it wasn't just nerves. It was deeper than that. Michael would have nightmares about forgetting words, about people laughing at him, about letting his family down. He'd wake up crying, and Katherine would hold him until he fell back asleep. She'd tried talking to Joe about it, but Joe didn't want to hear it. "He's got to toughen up," Joe said. "Real performers don't get scared. They get on stage and do their job." "He's 6 years old," Katherine reminded him, "and he's got the voice of an angel. We can't waste that because he's got stage fright. He'll get over it." But Michael hadn't gotten over it. If anything, it was getting worse. The day of the Roosevelt talent show, Michael threw up twice. Once in the morning before school, once in the afternoon when they got home. "I can't do it, Mama," he said, his eyes red from crying. "Please don't make me." Katherine's heart broke. She looked at her youngest son, so small, so scared, and she wanted to tell Joe that Michael needed more time, that 6 years old was too young for this kind of pressure. But she also knew what this opportunity meant to the family. They needed the exposure. They needed the prize money. And they needed to prove that the Jackson 5 was something special. "Listen to me, Michael," Katherine said, kneeling down to look him in the eyes. "I'm going to be right there. Not in the audience, right on the side of the stage where you can see me. If you get scared, you look at me. Just me. Nobody else matters, okay?" Michael nodded, not trusting his voice. "And you know what else?" Katherine pulled something from her purse. It was a small white handkerchief with her initials embroidered on it. "You're going to keep this in your pocket, and if you need to, you touch it, and remember that Mama's with you." Always, Michael took the handkerchief and clutched it like a lifeline. The Roosevelt High School auditorium was packed. Every seat filled. People standing in the back. The energy was electric with anticipation. Backstage, the Jackson 5 waited in the wings. They were the 7th act of the night, performing right after intermission. Joe had requested that spot specifically, late enough that people were warmed up, but not so late they were tired. Michael stood between his brothers, his hand in his pocket, fingers wrapped around his mother's handkerchief. He could feel his heart pounding so hard it hurt. "You okay, little man?" Tito asked, noticing how pale Michael looked. Michael nodded, not trusting himself to speak. "Just remember," Jackie said, "if you mess up, we've got your back. We'll cover for you." That should have been reassuring, but it just made Michael more anxious. What if he messed up so badly his brothers couldn't cover for him? What if he ruined everything? The act before them finished to solid applause. Then the MC's voice boomed through the auditorium. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, all the way from Jackson Street, the Jackson 5. This was it. Jackie led the way onto the stage, followed by Tito, Jermaine, and Marlon. Michael was last, his legs feeling like they weighed 1,000 pounds each. The applause was welcoming but not overwhelming. The audience was curious but not yet convinced. A group of kids performing? They'd seen that before. The boys took their positions. Michael was front and center. The spotlight operator found him immediately, and suddenly Michael was bathed in blinding white light. He couldn't see the audience anymore, just the light, just the darkness beyond it. And somewhere in that darkness, 200 strangers waiting for him to prove he deserved to be on this stage. The music started. A backing track Joe had recorded. The opening notes of "My Girl" by The Temptations filled the auditorium. This was Michael's song, his solo, his moment to show everyone why the Jackson 5 was special. The introduction played. 4 bars, 8 bars. Michael was supposed to start singing, but he couldn't remember the words. His mind was completely blank. The lyrics he'd sung 1,000 times in practice had vanished from his memory like they'd never existed. Panic hit him like a physical force. His hands started shaking. His vision got blurry with tears. Behind him, he heard Jermaine whisper urgently, "Michael, come on, sing." But he couldn't. His throat had closed up. The music kept playing, and the silence where his voice should have been was deafening. In the audience, Joe Jackson's face went dark. Katherine saw it and felt her stomach drop. People started shifting in their seats. Confused murmurs rippled through the crowd. The brothers exchanged panicked looks. Michael felt hot tears start to roll down his cheeks. He'd ruined everything. His father would never forgive him. His brothers would hate him. Everyone would know he wasn't good enough. He wanted to run, to disappear, to be anywhere but on this stage. And then he saw her, Katherine Jackson, standing in the wings, stage right, exactly where she'd promised she'd be. She wasn't looking disappointed. She wasn't angry. She was smiling. A warm, loving, completely confident smile. And then Katherine did something that everyone backstage would remember for the rest of their lives. She started to dance. Not big movements, not trying to steal attention, just gentle swaying, moving to the music like it was the most natural thing in the world. And as she danced, she mouthed the words to Michael. "I've got sunshine on a cloudy day." Michael watched his mother, her calm face, her gentle movements, her absolute certainty that he could do this. And something shifted inside him. The panic didn't disappear, but it got smaller, quieter. His mother's presence made the spotlight feel less blinding, the audience less terrifying. Michael took a shaky breath, and he started to sing. His voice was soft at first, uncertain, but it was there. "I've got sunshine on a cloudy day." Katherine kept dancing, kept mouthing the words, her eyes never leaving her son. "When it's cold outside, I've got the month of May." Michael's voice got stronger, the words were coming back. He could remember them now. He glanced at his mother again, and she nodded encouragingly. "You're doing it, baby. You're doing it." By the time Michael hit the chorus, something miraculous was happening. He forgot about the audience, he forgot about the pressure, he forgot about everything except the song and his mother dancing in the wings. And when you stop being afraid, something magical happens. You start to perform. Michael's voice opened up. That supernatural quality that everyone talked about came flooding out. He wasn't just singing the words anymore. He was feeling them, living them. His body started to move, nothing choreographed, just natural response to the music. The audience, which had been confused and restless 30 seconds ago, went completely still. They were witnessing something special. Behind Michael, his brothers found their harmonies. The panic was over. They were performing now, really performing, and it was working. But everyone's eyes were on the 6-year-old in the spotlight. Michael hit the final chorus and his voice soared. He threw everything he had into it, his small body projecting sound that seemed impossible for his size. The last note hung in the air. For a moment, there was silence. Then the auditorium exploded. 200 people leaped to their feet. The applause was thunderous. People were shouting, whistling. The judges were nodding to each other, smiling. Michael stood there, stunned. Had that really just happened? Had he done it? He looked to the wings where his mother stood. Katherine was crying, happy tears streaming down her face. She was clapping and nodding, her smile so bright it could have lit up the whole stage. Michael ran off stage as soon as the curtain closed, straight into his mother's arms. "I forgot, Mama," he sobbed. "I forgot all the words." "I know, baby, I know." Katherine held him tight. "But you remembered. When it mattered most, you remembered. I was so scared." "I know, but you sang anyway. That's what brave is, Michael. Brave isn't not being scared. Brave is being terrified and doing it anyway." Joe Jackson appeared backstage, pushing through the crowd. Michael tensed, expecting anger. But Joe's face was complicated, pride mixed with something else. Maybe respect. "That was good, boy," Joe said gruffly. "Real good." Then he walked away to talk to a promoter who'd been impressed by the performance. Katherine held Michael for a long moment. "Mama," Michael said quietly. "Yes, baby? I want to do it again." Katherine pulled back to look at him. "What?" "I want to perform again. It was scary at first, but then it felt good, really good, like I was supposed to be up there." Katherine's eyes filled with fresh tears, because she understood what had just happened. Michael hadn't just overcome his fear. He'd discovered something about himself. He'd found where he belonged. The Jackson 5 won the talent show that night. First place, unanimous decision from the judges. More importantly, 3 different promoters approached Joe afterward about booking the group. Within a month, the Jackson 5 was performing at paying gigs all over Indiana. And Michael never forgot his words again. But more than that, something fundamental had changed in him that night. The terrified 6-year-old who threw up before shows was gone. In his place was a performer who understood that the stage wasn't something to fear, it was home. Years later, during an interview with Oprah, Michael was asked about when he first knew he wanted to be a performer. "I was 6 years old," Michael said. "My first big talent show. I froze on stage, completely blanked. I thought my life was over." "What happened?" Oprah asked. "My mother saved me. She stood in the wings and danced for me, just for me, and she taught me the most important lesson I ever learned about performing." "What was that?" Michael smiled. "That you're never alone up there. Even when it feels like the whole world is watching and judging you, the people who love you are right there with you. You just have to look for them." "Is that why you always looked stage right when you performed?" Michael nodded. "Always. Even when she wasn't physically there, I could feel her. That night at Roosevelt High School, my mother gave me something more valuable than talent or training. She gave me courage. And she showed me that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is keep going when everything inside you wants to quit." Katherine Jackson was in the audience that day. Oprah's cameras caught her wiping away tears. After the interview, Michael walked over and hugged his mother. "Thank you, Mama," he whispered, "for that night, for all the nights." "That's what mothers do, baby," Katherine said. "We stand in the wings and dance until you find your voice." The white handkerchief with Katherine's initials never left Michael's possession. He carried it with him to every performance for the rest of his life, in his pocket during his first Motown audition, tucked in his jacket at the Grammys, backstage at Madison Square Garden, everywhere. A reminder that the greatest gift a performer can have isn't talent or ambition. It's knowing that someone believes in you when you don't believe in yourself. May 22nd, 1965, lasted only a few minutes, but those minutes taught 6-year-old Michael Jackson that fear doesn't have to stop you, that forgetting doesn't mean failing, and that sometimes the person dancing in the wings is more important than everyone sitting in the audience. Katherine Jackson didn't just save a performance that night. She saved a legend.